Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a
Hello.
nice day so far. Hi. Um, Good afternoon to you. Good morning. Um, it depends where you are. So I know if you're in Brussels today, you are surviving a heat wave that is really brutal. So I'm sorry, I'm in it too. I hope you're holding it just fine. And for the rest, I hope it's not too hot there for you. And today we have with us Shamaka, and she is from the US, Texas. I will leave her the floor to introduce herself, but I'm just going to go through what we're going to do. Just as usual, we're going to have 45 minutes of a presentation, and then we will have the Q&A. So for the Q&A, it's going to be the last 10-15 minutes. So during the presentation, of course, if you have any questions or if you have any comments, you can leave them in the chat box. And in the end, of course, our presenter is going to go through them. And also, of course, you can ask directly any questions you have in mind for the Q&A. And just say hi in the chat if you'd like to. And if you'd like to also share your camera so we can say hi. All right, I guess I'm going to leave the floor. So I'll be in the background helping. Thank you, Shamika, for joining us today. And thank you for volunteering your time and effort.
Thank you so much, Manel, and everyone. You're welcome to this session. I'm happy to have you here. I will go ahead to share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So good morning from here. It's about 10 a.m. Here in Texas. My name is Chiamaka Femi Adeyinka. I'm Nigerian. I know my name would definitely say that. So today, what we're going to talk about today is memory laundering. I know some of you may be wondering what is this about. But by the time we're done with this session, you will understand that it's something that we do sometimes deliberately or unintentionally. We do these things, and then we will understand the consequences of what we do and how it affects us, digital forensics investigators in general. So a little bit about me. A mom of two. Um, one is 5, one is 6, or he's 6, and the other is 17. I'm also a PhD candidate in digital and cyber forensic science at Sam Houston State University in Texas. I'm currently going into my final year in my PhD. I have also worked as a digital forensics investigator in Nigeria, and I did that for over 7 years before I started my PhD in digital and cyber forensic science. So I do have a strong background when it comes to digital investigations. I also serve as a researcher and a course instructor at Sam Houston State University, and I have been able to take courses related to digital forensics, having to introduce students to digital forensics. Last year, I had my first TED Talk, which briefly talked about my dissertation or what I'm working on, and which is on AI-assisted crime scene documentation and analysis, seeing how we can bring in wearable technology into the crime scene to be able to help law enforcement officers to reduce the time they spend analyzing, documenting crime scenes. I also serve as a mentor for different platforms or such as the Women for Cyber, Women in Cybersecurity, and some other ones that I didn't mention here. So this is a bit about me. This covers pretty much everything about self. So today, starting with memory laundering. What is memory laundering? Now, this is, imagine if you're a forensic investigator and you are here to investigate something. You're called in to look into a crime that's happened, and then you come in. You believe that when you're coming, you want to be able to understand the full picture. You want to know what happened because digital forensic investigators, we want to know everything that's happened so that we can be able to build a timeline. And then building a timeline, we can draw analysis from that to find out maybe key players in the investigation or find out how the crime happened or what happened digitally to be able to trace it and then provide the evidence to that. Now, imagine a situation where you come in and then the documents that you have looked at or you assume are real are actually things that have been manipulated. Maybe you're looking at images, you're trying to analyze images of something that happened, but you're not getting the full picture because some things have been taken out of the picture or things have been added to the picture. You see that you're not working with the wholesome detail, you're just working with a fragment of what has happened, and you may or may not even understand what fully happened if you don't get the original document or original image for what you're investigating. So this is a deliberate act when it comes to manipulating files, trying to remove digital traces of on files or documents or things, something that's happened, or trying to change the narrative of a story and leaving the investigator trying to find out or scrabbling for any other clues rather than looking at a full picture to understand what actually happened in this case. We can try to relate this to money laundering. Okay. Now, money laundering, you know that the corporates or the people involved, they try to hide the origin of where the money is coming from so that they can channel it to different places so that it's not traced back to them. That is similar in this case. Um, but the thing is, some of them are done more professionally by hackers or attackers, people who have sat down to look at how they can modernize the ways that they remove their traces when they do something or when they commit a crime. Um, why is this actually very important right now? Why are we talking about this particular topic now? This is very relevant because one, AI has come, and we know that at this point, we're seeing that AI has come to stay. So this has actually led to make things easier for people to do several things. It's made it easy for people to edit files. Now you can put in a legitimate document into generative AI platforms, and then it can generate something different for you from there. You can use these platforms to edit images. You can also even generate logs that look like they're real. So you can even use this platform to say, generate a log that does something like this just to simulate a real log. If you have such a log, it's going to take a while for you to be able, let's say if you're investigating something and then someone is using a generated log for for um an activity and then you're trying to look at it, it's going to take you a while to be able to know that that is actually generated because these platforms make things look like they're very real. And this is very, very easy to happen. Now, it may surprise you or it may not surprise you. It takes about 1 to 6 seconds to be able to generate a document or a file that that looks very convincing to another eye or to the human eye that is generated with AI. So you can see how fast you're able to do multiple things with these platforms. Now, when we continue to do things like this, then the problem goes to the kind of documents that we trust, the things that we have to see. Can we really rely on the documents that we're looking at? Can we rely on the images that we're seeing? Okay, and also accessibility to this, everybody can do it. Anyone can do it. Anybody can just register on AI platforms and tell it what it wants you to do. If you have the money, you can pay the premium and let it do what it wants to do.
We can no longer hear you, Chimaka. I'm sorry. It could be an internet connection problem. Can you hear me? Can you hear
Oh,
me?
hi. Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, we could not hear you for about 1 minute, maybe.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll just go back to the trust.
So I
If
think the
that's,
last
I think
thing,
there was some sort of disconnection.
yeah, the last thing we heard, it was how long it takes and if you pay premium, and that was the last thing.
Okay, so what I was saying is that you can pay a premium to these AI platforms and they're able to do several things that you wanted to do. Um, Now, there's something called jailbreaking when it comes to using like generative AI or large language models. Now, there are some platforms that you may want to use, and you find out that if you tell it to do something, you want to tell you that what you're asking is not legal or ethical. Okay, that is because some keywords in what you've searched, it has raised some triggers, and then it's letting you know that what you want to get answers about is something that is wrong, or it's not supposed to give you that. Now, with jailbreaking, what some attackers do, or what some people do, is to tweak the words that they put into this AI platforms to make it, to force it to be able to generate those things or provide those solutions for them, because they know that if they say it plainly, okay, it's going to raise a flag and say this is something you're asking for, something that is illegal. But when they tweak it to make it look like a scenario, now it's seeing it as I'm trying to solve a problem, not that I'm trying to help someone commit a crime. Okay, so now everybody can have access to these tools. That's what I was talking about there. Okay, now when you look at this image, I want you to put your response in the chat. What do you see in this image, or what can you associate these images to? There are four different images here. What can you associate these images to? I would like to know what some of you think.
So for the answers we have from Jayla, there are also many models, and I'm going to go maybe later to that. But for the answers, we have Barbara, she said stock photos. Please type your answers in the chat box. Photoshop, manipulated, happiness, images modified, edited photos, some elements are deleted.
Oh yeah. All these responses are right. Now, how many of us use the object removal option when we take pictures? Do we do that? How many of us do that?
So far we have three yeses, one no, not much, no, not while taking the pics, sometimes, never.
Now, when we take a picture, okay, we look at it just like these four images that we have here. They say a picture is what, 1,000 words or more than 1,000 words. But when we start taking things out of the images that we take, Now we're taking out the different stories in the images that we take. Also, this leads to things like memory laundering because now you're removing things that are originally there. And this is deliberate for you, but you're not doing it because you want to hide um let's say your trace, your digital trace. Okay, on in this instance, you're just removing it because you want the picture to look better. But now imagine a situation where, let's say you were on a street and you took a picture, you took a selfie, and then there's someone walking behind you and you remove it. You remove whoever the person is. Few seconds later, you find out that a crime was committed just not too far from where you were. And the law enforcement is asking for people who were around there that they're trying to find someone. Now, you took a picture. Your image had someone who was in that place who is the potential person of interest for this case. But because you don't want something else in the picture making it look some type of way for you, then you take it away. Now you're removing something that can actually help solve a problem. You are removing a clue because that could give investigators a clue to say this is the way the person went, or this is the person entered here, or the person did this. So it helps the investigators to even build a better picture of that particular case. Okay, so these are ways that we unintentionally do things to launder memory. Okay, this is just for us, but when it comes to other people like the attackers or the hackers who take these things seriously and go the extra mile to try to hide their traces, they do a lot more technical things in terms of laundering memory. Okay, so now, how do we do these things? First is the file AI file manipulation and image manipulation. Now, the object removal that we just talked about is something that with AI has come in to be integrated with our mobile devices and then also with the images that with the photos or camera settings that we have where you can take out or edit your pictures even on your phone. So these tools help us they're supposed to help us to make things look better for us, edit images or files so that they tell the story that we want it to tell. And then you see that we're not telling the story that is originally what should be told. Okay, you can use generative AI now to generate even audio files or even to generate documents to do several things. Okay, and then when somebody listens to this or looks at it, it looks very convincing because it's near perfect. How can you say that this is AI? Okay. And then sometimes this also affects the metadata of these files. So you find out that the data of this file sometimes will also get manipulated when you change something. Sometimes they don't. Now also we have metadata on timestamp tampering. Now when people change who had access to a particular file, when they had access to it, or where it happened, or where they used it, people have tools. There are tools and AI tools. AI is developing in ways that it can help people manipulate different stuff. So now when AI is helping people to change these details, when an investigator is looking at a particular scenario, they are seeing something different. They're not getting the whole picture of who originally accessed these files. They're seeing something else. Now, they don't have they need to work extra hard. They need to find more information or more details or more evidence to be able to find who the original person who had accessed a particular file or who even changed all this metadata. So this is a way that people try to rewrite a story, and then in this way you may not be able to even have a proper timeline reconstruction to be able to understand what happened. For instance, something happened yesterday and then an attacker looks at it and then changes this into something that happened maybe a month ago. Now, when you're analyzing this document, you're seeing that somebody accessed it or changed something a month ago, but that's not true. So you don't have the full picture. So it means that you have to work extra hard to be able to find out the real detail about what actually happened here. Now, also the fact that fileless malware is something that is evolving. Attackers are using this to be able to exploit systems, to be able to carry out the attacks. And in this case, it's difficult for the forensic investigators to be able to know that they were even there. Why? Because everything lives on the memory, on the RAM. And once the computer is shut down, it's hard for you to be able to even you may not even get anything. So the trace that they were there is even gone. So you're not even able to find traces that this is who or what they could have used to be able to commit this particular crime, or even other anti-forensic techniques. When we talk about anti-forensic techniques, they are just tools or ways or techniques that people use to be able to, hide um, to be able to hide the truths, to be able to hide data, or kind of just make things difficult for you to see. I'm trying to explain this in the easiest way possible. So things like let's say wiping logs of something that happened. You've accessed the computer, and then when you're done, you just go to the logs to just delete it so that nobody sees that you're there. Now, we're not seeing the full picture. We may not know that that happened until we do further analysis or investigation. Okay. And also with the fileless malware, there are times you find that even the attackers use both the something called living off the land. So they use the legitimate Windows tools or tools that are legitimate on your computer to be able to carry out these attacks. So in that way, you're not able to know that something different or something suspicious is happening because it's using the tools that your computer should run to actually carry out this attack. Now, there was in 2017, there were over 140 attacks that focused on financial institutions, and all these used fileless malware. And this was 2017, before AI tools even developed to the way it has developed now. Okay, and this used fileless malware and also the living off the land technique, where it's using the trusted, legitimate tools like your PowerShell or your Windows runtime, all those tools that your computer should run. So it's using this to run, and then it took a long time. By the time the investigators came to understand what happened here, a lot of the traces were gone. So it took a while for them to be able to attribute this um to an attacker or attackers. Okay. Now I'm going to I put this two images, and then this is something that I tried. Okay. I want you to look at the two images here, image one and image two. Look at the timestamp and the metadata that it has here. Look at the data in the image, and I want you to tell me, what do you see is the difference in the metadata between these two images, and which one do you think is altered, if you think anyone is altered?
Please write down your answers in the chat. Thank you.
Yes, please.
So we see on the left is altered, name is different, image one is altered, the left has a different image, ID, image two is the original.
Okay, yeah, I see that you can pick the difference. Now, first, the file name is different. One is 4090, the other one is 4091. So what I did in this case, the image two was the first thing I did. I wrote it on a paper and took a picture. Then I duplicated the picture on my phone. So you see that every other thing about the timestamp is the same aside the file name, because it's just an additional file in your file system or in your phone. So what I did on the first one, on the second one, which is a duplicate, which is image one, then I used the object removal to remove the word in the second line. Okay. And then when you're looking at it, the metadata doesn't say anything different from the original one. So how can you even tell that something happened if you had only the image one to look at? You would think it's okay. You wouldn't even know that something has been taken away from the picture. So also relate this to even files that people may potentially maybe exfiltrate, or they're trying to alter files or make things look the way they're not supposed to be. Okay, tools like this help people to manipulate um, data, to manipulate files, and create a different picture from what is actually existing or from what is there. Because from this image, if you had just image one, you would think somebody was writing something and they didn't complete it. But unless you see the first one, which is the original one, to see that something is on the second line, then you know that, okay, something was even altered. So if a forensic investigator had just the first one, the metadata is legitimate. It's now left for the forensic tool to be advanced in a way that it's now going to say, okay, there were two files, and then you're now able to look at these files to see that there was something different. But if you had only one to work with, it would be hard for you to be able to know that this was actually altered. So that is the essence of this topic today. So you're seeing the different ways that things can happen and how this creates a different narrative for investigators. Now, what does this actually mean for us? This just takes away one, it takes a lot of time for us, okay? And because we believe in having the full picture, we want to be able to see it, see what has happened, reconstruct this timeline, which can help us have a better understanding rather of what has happened. Okay. Now you just be left with maybe some assumption that this could have happened. And then we don't need to work like that. That is not what forensic investigation is about, because we work with facts. Everything that we produce must be factual, it must be the truth, it must be complete. It shouldn't show that maybe something was even altered. Okay, so now with in situations like this, the authenticity of what we're even looking at is questionable. Now, are we even looking at the truth? Do we even really know the truth? We cannot have good timelines to be able to reconstruct, to understand the sequence of events or things that have happened in that time frame that we're actually trying to examine. Now you're also having to battle with evidence that is volatile, because if something happens on the RAM, on the memory, then it's hard for you to be able to do that if you don't do live forensics to be able to acquire that memory data, the image when the computer is still on. So if the computer has been turned off, then it's pretty much difficult for you to be able to do the analysis to be able to understand what has happened on the RAM. Okay. And also when it comes to even producing these things in the courtroom to prove that this is your evidence, are you even sure that what you're producing to the court to say this is what I found from the case? How sure are you that is even the original thing that was actually there? How do you know that this was not manipulated, or how this was not um changed in some way, or something was just removed from it, and then it's your thinking is legitimate, your thinking is real, but it's not. So this poses a serious challenge for us, because forensic investigator at work deals with every evidence being complete. It needs to be the real thing. So if you have to produce something at the end of the day, it tarnishes your case because it's not real, then there's a problem. And then this is a problem that is existing. It's since AI has come, it's something that will continue to exist until we find ways to be able to attack these things or to be able to find a way to mitigate the effects of these manipulations when it comes to digital investigations. So now we're trying to look at the bigger picture here, which is looking at the implications of this going outside the forensic lab. So there are things that have to do with the legal and evidentiary aspect where the standards for even admitting digital evidence needs to evolve to be able to cover things like documents that have been forged using AI or things we know about deepfakes and things that are related to deepfakes. AI is evolving and is also posing a challenge in the legal sector as well. So coming up with policies, coming up with laws to be able to handle these things, they don't just happen in a day. And then with that, you see that we're going to be having a backlog of cases um, that have or associated with AI, okay, or AI manipulations, and then it becomes more of a problem, okay, over time. So now when the next thing we can also attribute this to the other implication could be like the public trust aspect, because at the end of the day, if you're taking your case to court, you want them to be able to judge this wholly, to be able to whatever verdicts that they give, you want to make sure that it's complete, and if these things are done or the evidence submitted are things that have been manipulated, okay. And at the end of the day, there are verdicts that are given that maybe later you find out that what they used to give this verdict was maybe fake or it was manipulated, then you see that there will be some sort of you start losing trust in the public safety sector, or the public trust is gone, because how do you believe that, or how can you trust that the lawyers are providing the right evidence in court for cases? And then also in terms of governance and policies, okay, the when it comes to evidence integrity and relating it to AI, there's not a lot of policies that are actually trying to cover this. You'll find out that a lot of policies are looking at responsible AI, how AI is going to be used, how do you deploy it, how do you use this, how do you use that. But a lot of these frameworks are not categorically looking at preserving, looking at the evidence aspect, evidence integrity when it comes to using AI, and also the gap in the skills, because forensic investigators now have to gather more training to be able to keep up with the trend of all these things, to be able to know that these are the things that are happening. And there are places that are under-resourced. There are some countries that are under-resourced that they may not have a lot of funding, or they may not even have the resources to keep up. Okay, so you find out that they may not even know that things like this are happening, and then they're working with cases that it's not what it is, or it's not giving them the full picture. So what are the things that we can actually do about this situation? First, um, now cryptography is there, it's come to stay. So if we're able to build blockchain anchored chain of custody to be able to um if we're able to add cryptographic and blockchain anchored chain of custody to the evidence that we have. Yes, this could help to just make sure that things, normally you have the chain of custody, we shouldn't be broken. But if we have another layer of adding cryptography to it, so that even in between, we know that the evidence is not tampered and then everything is complete. We can also try to fight AI with AI. Okay, try to build tools that can be able to detect that this is fake. I know that there's some research going on detecting deep fakes, detecting fake media and all that. So things like objects, let's say files that have to do with using object eraser or object removal tools. I haven't seen a lot of research focusing on things like that, because it's seen as it's very minute. It's not seen that like it's something that is very serious. But as little as that tool is, we just want to use it to make our pictures, look better. It's something that can actually create a serious problem in the industry. Okay, now the next thing here is talking about capturing volatile memory early. Yes, this is very easy. This is very good. If you're able to, as a forensic investigator, it's if you're able to meet a computer and it's running, then you can carry out live forensics, on the RAM to be able to acquire the image. But when it comes to when you meet a computer and then it's already turned off, then you know that you're at risk to lose a lot of data if you have to think of doing live forensics image at that. You can't even think about it because the computer is turned off. So that limits the things that you can also look at. Okay, and then also in terms of capacity building, being able to have forensic investigators have more training to be able to learn more about the evolving technologies, these emerging technologies, and how it affects them directly, and how the things that they need to also look out for when they're trying to investigate cases or look at tools that internally they could build to be able to help the situations or to be able to have a clearer picture of things that have happened. So this actually brings me to the end of this presentation. I hope I've kept it within time. Um, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you for participating in the questions that I asked. I really appreciate that. So these are my details, and please let's know the questions that you have.
Thank you so much. It was interesting for me, even though that I'm not a technical person at all. I see some hands were up. So now is the Q&A time. So please, if you have any questions, raise your hand, and we will go one by one, give you the time to ask your question, and then Shameka is gonna answer your question. And if you don't feel very confident talking, you can always write down your question and I will read it out loud for you. So we have the first hands up. Yes, please. Could you please unmute yourself?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Bhumika Uppal, and I am pursuing my LLM in Innovation and Technology Law from University of Bristol. So I am a lawyer qualified back in India, and I was practicing criminal law. So I have always wondered that how can I use my experience while I was practicing in criminal law, and like I'm very much interested in data privacy and cybersecurity. So this is the reason I joined this session. The question is like if somebody is interested in data forensics and cyber forensics, what is the right place to begin with? Uh, because my course focus more on digital tech, digital innovation, which is very interesting. But I am more, you can say, I'm leaning more towards the harms of AI and how to protect people from that.
Um, okay. Thank you for your question. Now you're asking where you could start from if you want to look into digital forensics. Am I right?
Yes, so yes. My question is that if I can, like, how should I start my journey in cybersecurity, data forensics, basically protecting people from harms of AI?
Okay, first, I would say being even on a platform like this with Women for Cyber Foundation is a great place to start because they have seasoned mentors. So being on a mentorship program really helps where you can state out your goals to your mentor. You state out the things you want to achieve or the area you want to go into so that they carefully select a mentor that suits your goals. Okay, so when you do that, then during your mentorship session, mentorship is a very great way to start. Then you have someone who is giving you resources or telling you, okay, let's work with this week or this month, focus on this. This is the path that you can take to be able to learn in this field or to be able to grow in this field. So mentorship is great. Being on this platform is one. Then there are a lot of online resources as well that you can go into. You can search for. There are like free digital forensic courses. There are free platforms that you can join, and then they have like modules that you can take on that covers different aspects of digital forensics from the basics, the fundamentals to where you can understand more technical things when it comes to digital forensics, understanding file systems and the artifacts that you can find from file systems. So there are online platforms or websites that curate this particular let's say timeline of study that you can do from is like from zero to hero kind of um, a training. Yeah,
Thank you so much for your answer. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Thank you, both ladies. We're still taking questions. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for somebody else to raise their hand. I have shared a link for a feedback form. It's very short and it's anonymous, and it's mainly to help me improve our series. We're still taking questions, so please take just 1 minute or 2 minutes to answer the webinar feedback form. And if you have questions, raise your hand. I have a question from Jayla until somebody raises their hand. So she says, how are the courts in the US handling the issue of AI altered content? Since traditionally speaking, the public institutions are usually having difficulties in catching up with technology. I'm assuming that there might be a lot of challenges in handling some of the cases. Could you please share some quick notes on the examples that you might have observed in your practice?
Okay, thank you so much for this question. This is actually a wholesome question. Now, first thing that I'm going to say is this is an evolving challenge, okay? AI is something that has just come. And when it comes to even evidence that has to do with AI, even presented in court, is something that is still even being battled right now, even from research, if you read about it. So it's right now, there are not a lot of policies that are even talking about AI. So it's when you talk about even presenting or trying to talk about AI manipulated evidence in court, it's something that right now I cannot tell you what is going on that, but we know that we don't have any policy right now that I would say categorically tackles AI manipulated files coming to the courts. That's why I put this as a challenge for law enforcement, for digital forensics investigators, and also because I'm currently in my study with the PhD. I'm not actively in the industry or really facing the courts and then providing this. This is from research because we've seen that this is an upcoming challenge. Okay, so this is why this has been identified, and then it's something that we're putting out there for people to be able to understand, and then for investigators to also look into it, to pay more attention to the evidence that they're looking at. So with this question, I'm not able to tell you what is actually going on because I am not actively in going to court right now or being an expert witness in court right now because I'm still in my studies. Okay, but this is just to put the awareness out there that these are things that are happening, and then also law enforcement officers or investigators need to pay attention to these emerging technologies.
Thank you so much. Both of the question and the answer are excellent. Thank you, ladies. We have another question, and the question is from Vasiliki. So she says, are there any types of metadata and logs that are right protected?
That are right protected. Um, I think that would also depend on the tool that is being used. Okay. Yeah, I think that depends on the tools because there's some tools that are built to make sure that people don't have access to them or whoever has access to even view those logs. There's some sort of accountability that comes with it. So it logs who is having access to it, okay, who is downloading it, who is doing anything so that you can attribute the change to a particular person. Okay. So what I would say to this question is it pretty much depends on the tool that you're using. Let's say if you just download a free tool online and then you're using the tool, you would not be expecting that your logs will be tamper-proof. Okay, but there's some tools, maybe some commercial tools, and it depends on what the tool is actually doing that let's say if it's a tool for trying to monitor your logs, your network logs. Yes, this is a tool that people should not have access to, but someone who is like the network administrator should be able to have access to a tool like this to be able to know what happened in the network at a certain time. So being tamper-proof, I would say depends on the tool, and then it also attributes to the accountability aspect of it so that we know who accessed what and when they accessed it.
Thank you so much. So the next question is from Jean-Michel, and the question says, "Hi, what new anti-forensic techniques do you anticipate emerging in the next 2 to 3 years? And how might quantum computing or post-quantum cryptography affect the memory laundering and detection?"
Okay, so for the first part of the question, which is what the first part of the question said,
The
where
new
do I
techniques.
see the new techniques yet with the emerging technologies? Honestly, with the evolution of AI, I can't even say because tomorrow something new can just come up. Okay, people are using AI tools to do several things. So it's hard to say because the trend is quickly changing. Okay, I remember in one of the sessions from this series where the speaker talked about how hackers are using AI to be able to carry out ransomware attacks. Okay, so you see that things like this didn't happen in the past, but now you could sit down and use AI to be able to get step by step of how to carry out an attack. So for that, I would say let's just expect anything, honestly. I wouldn't be able to say because anything can change tomorrow. Then also talking about quantum post-quantum computing and also the quantum key distribution. What was that what was the later part of the question?
It was how might quantum computing or post-quantum cryptography affect memory laundering and detection?
Now uh, with cryptography, post-quantum computing, this comes in, this would come in even, I would say, after what has happened because for instance this manipulation I did on my phone, right? It's something that at this point is just my file system that will have a hash value or a cryptographic value for my files. Okay, now bringing post-quantum computing to this, it's something that is pretty much after the manipulation has been done. So that can be applied into the forensic imaging aspect, okay, to make that more tamper-proof or having the manufacturers implement that into their systems. But with this topic and the memory laundering and the aspect that we've discussed with this, it's something that I would say is not directly I wouldn't say it's directly connected because let me give an instance now. I'm trying to exfiltrate data. Okay. I'm trying to steal confidential information. And then I take pictures of this and I send it to someone who wants to use it for something else. Now the person has altered it. I could have sent it from different channels. Okay. Let's say I even send it on WhatsApp. right? Now, WhatsApp has their own cryptography, but that is it's completely different. Okay, so looking at that particular act that we're talking about and bringing it to quantum computing, then that is something that is left for the manufacturers to ensure that it's integrated in their system or in the products that they sell. And that with the actions of the user is something that is, I think, at this point, is not completely, related. That's what I would say.
Well, thank you. I think these are the questions that we have in the chat box. But please, if you have any questions, yes, we have a hand up.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to like make a LinkedIn post about it, like the whole session. So I just want the consent, like if I can do that and tag the organization and the speaker, if that's okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. From my part, it's a yes, and the rest is to Shamaka as she's
Yes,
okay
sure,
with
you
it.
can. Yes, Bhumika, yes, you can.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right.
so
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you so much for asking for that. Do we have any questions before we wrap up today's session? All right. So also we have the form that I shared with you. If you please have 1 minute, sorry, take a moment to fill in. Other than that, if you have more questions and you want to keep in touch, please follow on LinkedIn our amazing speaker. You can also follow us. Just one more observation, we will have the final session before the summer break in July. After that, we go back in September because in August is a summer break. So just always follow us on our LinkedIn, and we post about the next session, and you can register. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm really grateful to have you, everyone, and also grateful to have our speaker. She's also a mentor, and she's involved, and I really appreciate that from my part and from all the ladies in Women for Cyber. I'll leave you the final word, and then we will end today's meeting.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm honored to be here, and I'm glad you all had something to take out from this session. So thank you so much for having me, Women for Cyber, and I hope I was able to make at least one impact today to someone. And then you were also able to learn something today. So when you try to remove objects from your images, just remember this session and remember that you could be taking something away that tomorrow you want to tell a story about it. So just think about it when you want to take things away. That's what I
But
would say.
the aesthetics of Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you
See
so
you,
much.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.